In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in Black and White emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White, where we delve into the issues that plague the underserved and marginalized communities and how we can best help to solve those issues. Tonight, we have a very special guest. We have with us again, we have Dr. Somone Washington. Dr. Simone Washington is the owner of Kiasi Technology Solutions. Dr. Simone Washington is a learning and development professional with 17 years of creating effective learning experiences to her credit. Dr. Washington is a graduate of Florida International University, Barry University, and California State University, Long Beach, and has earned an honorary Doctor of Humanity award from Theophany University. She is a 22-year member of the illustrious organization Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Diagnosed with life-threatening end-stage renal failure at the age of 24 years old, Dr. Washington is passionate about sharing her story to spread awareness and inspire others to register as organ, eye, and tissue donors to save lives, especially in the Black and Brown communities. Statistically, we're more likely to need transplants and less likely to donate. As an ambassador of One Legacy's public education and family support organization, Dr. Washington shares her personal journey through diagnosis, treatment, and kidney transplantation at community events with local medical professionals and the general public to honor the second chance at life that she received in November 2010. Dr. Washington currently serves as a software analyst on a university campus and resides in Southern California. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Simone Washington.
Thank
Welcome,
you
Dr.
so much.
Washington.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's good to have you back again. How's everything been going?
Everything is going well. I can't complain.
Well, is there anything you'd like to add to your bio before we jump into the show?
That was a great bio. That was a great introduction. Thank you so much. I would just like to add a new author to the list as of November 22nd. I am a published author, and so I'm excited about that as well.
Wow, well, as a matter of fact, as you just brought that up, let's just jump right into that. Can you tell us what inspired you to become an author, and how did your writing journey begin?
So, as I've gone through my health journey and sharing my experience with people over the years, every time I share my story, everyone walks away saying you should really write a book. And so, after so many times and so many years of hearing that, I finally decided to go ahead and start. Um, it wasn't until the passing of my father 2 years ago that I really took it seriously and really started the journey of writing to the point that we got to my published product here. So the writing journey started, and I'm so thankful that I did this. Otherwise, some details would have been lost. But I had been journaling throughout the entire process of being diagnosed, going through treatments, and the ultimate outcome, which is what you see here today. And so I really do encourage everyone to, if you haven't started, if it's not a thing that you do, to absolutely start journaling or continue journaling or start back journaling. Because when you go back and you read back through the things and the details that you may have forgotten, it really does help you to remember what you've gone through. And also, if you decide to write about it later, you really have good content there to start your writing journey.
So, can you share the themes or messages that resonate most in your published works?
I'm sorry, I was reading the comments. Can you repeat that?
Can you share the themes or messages that resonate most in your published works?
Yes, so there are several themes in the book. Some that I intended, and others that I've heard from people who have already finished reading the book. So I dedicated the book to people who are currently on dialysis, because I understand that that can be a situation that the longer you're on it, the more you tend to lose hope that you'll be off of it and get your transplant. And so I really dedicated this book to them. Hopefully, reading my story and connecting with my experience would give them hope or renewed hope to just hang in there and keep going, and just remain faithful that your day will come to also receive your second chance. And I also wrote it for people who are friends of those with chronic illness, not necessarily just kidney failure like I went through, but any chronic illness. So we have friends and we have loved ones, not necessarily the caregivers, but people that care about us. And we really, some people just really don't know what they can do to help. They have the heart to support, but they don't really know like what tangible things that they can actually do. And so I give some tangible, suggestions and advice on what can be done to support someone who's going through a chronic illness. I also wrote this book for people who are donor families, people who have lost a loved one and they've decided to donate. So, to give people like me a second chance at life. Some of those people don't hear back from people like me who have received, or they were still grieving at the time and they just couldn't receive, that type of contact right at the time. And maybe they're in a space now where they're open to hear about like what it's like for the person that received. And so I really do offer this as an example of what a second chance at life could look like for, the loved one that have donated.
Well, can you tell us what is the title of your book?
So the title of the book is The Best of All Things, a tapestry of faith, hope, resilience, and the human connection.
Oh,
And
beautiful
this
cover.
is a copy. Yes, thank you. Um, and so it really is about explaining like the faith journey that this was for me, and how my faith was built, even though I was a woman of faith even before this happened, how this journey did develop my faith even more. And there were times in the journey, even knowing who God is and being a faithful woman, there were times where my faith was challenged. And my support system really rallied around me, my church family, my friends, people in my life who are believers really rallied around me, even in the times where I, didn't want to, or didn't have the faith, or didn't want to pray, or just was just so low in my feelings about what I was going through, that they really stood in the gap for me and prayed until I was able to do that for myself.
Wow. So, how was your personal life influenced the stories you choose to tell?
So, when we talk about living with chronic illness, sometimes people who are not experiencing it really like kind of see it in isolation, like, oh, you're dealing with this. But in actuality, life is still going on. So, even though we're living with a chronic illness, you're still having to go to work, you still have bills that need to be paid, you still have to keep the roof over your head and food in your refrigerator. So in the book, I do talk about like all the different things that were also going on at the time that I'm managing this treatment, and including things that were happening at work, things that were happening with my boss, trying to date. Because as you said earlier, this started when I was 24 years old. I didn't get a kidney transplant until I was 30. And so during this time, I was dating and all the trials and tribulations related to that. And so yeah, there's lots going on. Life is happening while managing a chronic illness.
That was a transition right into my next questions. And that was, what challenges did you face while getting your first book published, and how did you overcome them?
There were many challenges, many challenges. First of all, it's a learning curve because I've never done anything like this before. The reason why I even attempted to write a book is because I knew of many authors around me, you being one of them.
Mhm.
So just there's just a lot of people in my circle who have written books before, who are published, and so I said, with this many resources around me, there's no way I can fail at this. So let me at least try. And so that's what motivated me to even try and start. But it's new, so everything about it is new. So setting aside time to write, and the editing process, designing a book cover, how to get published, how to go through several editing processes, people saying that they want to help, and hiring people to help and they fall through. And then how do you pivot? How do you continue going? How do you keep a mindset of wanting to accomplish this when so many people at so many different points kind of uh, let you down or don't show up or don't finish their part and all the things. And so it really is a journey of endurance to go from a manuscript to a finished published product.
So now that you've got this big project done, it's
Yes,
out there, and everybody in the world gets
yes,
to know that Dr. Simone Washington wrote this book.
yes.
How does that make you feel?
Well, it makes me feel accomplished. It makes me feel that if there's anything else that I want to try, that it'll be easier for me to go ahead and try it, because this was a major undertaking for me while working a full-time job, while operating a small business, while going through several professional development programs, um, managing relationships with family and friends, and dating. So there's a lot on the plate. And so this has taught me that I can do hard things, that I can manage multiple important things at one time and be successful. And also to be an encouragement to others who feel like, oh, I don't see myself as an author. Well, people that know me, you know, can see like this is something that you can do as well. um, I was having a conversation with a coworker of mine the other day, and she asked me a similar question. And I said, the other thing about having this book in my hand, it is a reminder that I am more than what I do at work. I'm more than what my salary says my worth is, and this is a tangible reminder of that.
Hmm. So, how do you approach the writing process? Do you have a specific routine or environment that helps stimulate your creativity?
Yes. So the first thing that happened is when I first started to verbalize that I wanted to write a book. One of my sorority sisters and close friends came up to me, who's also an author, and she came up to me and asked if she could serve as my book coach.
Okay.
So I said, of course. I don't know what a book coach is or how that works, but yes, let's do that. And so she really came and offered the structure that I needed and the guidance that I needed to get through the process. So we came up with periodic meetings, and so at those meetings, I had deadlines of getting this much done, or getting this revised, or coming up with these things, dividing this by chapters, coming up with a title. So we had periodic meetings, regular meetings to help with to guide the process. So I do have a home office here, and so that's my dedicated space to do all my work, and that included writing time as well.
Mm. So, so then when you was actually going through that process, you figured out your space and you knew what you were going to do with your book coach. Were you guys editing as you went through the process, or did you wait to the end to do the editing?
So I came to her with a manuscript. And what I mean by manuscript is that I typed out all of the journal entries that I had over the years related to this period of my life. So I typed that out, and that was my manuscript. So I had that ready when we started working together. And so she took time to read through the manuscript, and then we began meeting from there. So she had questions about some things. She suggested where I needed to expand the story a little bit more. And so, with all the questions that she had, and with all the suggestions and advice of expansion, then we had a longer manuscript. Then deciding on how to divide it into chapters, and ultimately deciding on a title.
Oh wow! So, in your book, though, how many chapters do you have?
Let's see. How many chapters do we have? We have 19 chapters, and some of the chapters are very short, maybe 3 to 4 pages, and some chapters are longer. So the book in total is 133 pages, so it's an easy read. Um, it doesn't take a lot of time. There are also chapter questions at the end of each chapter for reflection, self reflection, and also in case there were book clubs that were interested in this book, there's not a lot of extra work that they will have to do, because there's a lot of questions at the end of each chapter to kind of get discussion started.
That's a beautiful thought because in writing, when I did my first book, I never thought about that. Like, and so like if book clubs were to, so is are you saying that if book clubs were to want to read your book,
Mhm.
that everything is already there at the back of each chapter that they'll be able to just discuss?
Yes, yes, I did have the book clubs in mind as I was writing. Um, And so, yes, I love to read. I've had my own personal library since I learned how to read. My
Mhm.
parents really did support that. And so I love books. I love tangible books. I'm a part of book clubs. I've been a part of book clubs. And so I had them in mind. And so, yes, we decided, my book coach and I, that we should come up with some questions at the end of each chapter. And even if a person is reading it on their own, these are also questions for self reflection as well.
Oh wow! So everybody, listen to Dr. Simone Washington. You got to go out and get this book. This book got everything that you need. Get you going. Um, have there been particular authors or books that have influenced your writing style or perspective?
I wouldn't say, and actually, during the time of writing this book, I decided not to read. I paused on reading because I didn't want any of those writing styles to influence this. I wanted it to be authentically my voice. But outside of this writing process, I read so many books and so many different kinds of books. I don't have a person in particular, but just the people around me who are authors gave me the encouragement to believe that I could also write. And so my book coach's name, shout out to Dr. Katrina Elliott, and some other authors that I know, Dr. Shanetta Weatherspoon, Dr. Aldina Lee, and also yourself, Charles.
Well, thank you so very kindly But
Yeah.
I'm sure that that those young ladies, especially with them being a part of the organization that you being a member of, that they made sure that the sisterhood stays strong.
Yes. Yes.
So
Absolutely.
so the book, I'm sure, is more than doing what it's supposed to do.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
what advice would you give aspiring authors looking to break into literary world today?
I would definitely say the first thing to do is to start journaling or pull out the journals that you have over the years. First, deciding on what it is that you want to write about. What is the message that you want to offer to the world? What type of impact do you want to make? And start from there. Like what from your life experience can help someone else?
Right. So let's say we got a bunch of young ladies, a bunch of young men out here that that may be some creators, maybe thinking about getting into writing. What
Okay.
advice would you give to them?
So definitely, aside from journaling, have dedicated time set aside. Um, Depending on what your schedule is, maybe you can't write daily or weekly, but come up with a schedule of when you'll have dedicated time to write. One thing that I discovered during this process is that on meetup.com, there are writing groups and there's time. So the meetup is all about meeting on Zoom or meeting on a online platform and
Mhm.
just being quiet and everybody is writing. And so if you are struggling to carve out dedicated time to write, maybe joining a meetup group that is doing that will help you focus on your writing. Definitely have dedicated time to write. If you can find a book coach, definitely work with someone who is an author that can guide you through the process. Um, since I've gone through it, I can, help someone else with the process as well. And so I'm excited to do that. I've already gotten three people who have contacted me to help them through their process. So I'm excited to do that. And so, and if you know of any authors in your circle of influence, definitely tap them to get some advice, some suggestions, some pitfalls that they have gone through that you can avoid. And there are also books that can help you go through the writing process. There's a great book by Denard Mitchell that I read while I was going through the process that talks about how do you become a published author. So garner all your resources, make your dedicated time to write, and enjoy the process.
Wow. So also, what is it that you think some of these young inspired writers should be
Mhm.
thinking about, like is there a particular genre they should be looking for, or if they're looking to be like one of these really best-selling authors that's doing like a niche, what
Mhm.
genre or what genres do you think they should be looking for in order to get into that space?
Well, I really think that it depends on what it is that they're passionate about writing about first and being authentic to that. I think that's where they will find their best work. And then going from that idea and then deciding which genre it fits in second. Instead of deciding on the genre first and then writing, start with what you're passionate about, what you want to write about, what's fun for you to write about, what area of impact do you want to making that decision first and then finding where it fits in second.
Hmm. So how do you handle writer's block or moments of creative stagnation?
So there was one area of my story that I struggled to write about just because it was a difficult experience. And this was part of the dating process while managing chronic illness. And I spent weeks trying to figure out how to write about it because I didn't even want to think about it anymore. I didn't want to revisit it. I didn't want to go back there. Just I wanted to avoid it. It's in the past. Let's leave it back there. But I knew that I had to write about it because it was what was going on at the time. And so that means that I was missing a lot of my writing deadlines that my book coach had set up for us. And so at some point, she called me out on it and she's like, "Hey, where's my stuff? Like, what's going on? It's not like you to miss the deadlines. Like, what's going on?" And I had a complete breakdown, like tears, the whole nine, because I did not want to write about this. And once I shared that with her and we talked about it, we got to the root of the issue, which was that I was afraid that if I went back there and thought about that I might revert back to the person that was experiencing those things. And I had done so much work. I've been in therapy and really just done so much work on myself to be better and different and not allowing that type of behavior, that I didn't want to lose any of that by going back and revisiting this. And so my book coach really encouraged me, and she let me know that that is not what's going to happen. Like, you have to think about the impact that you're going to make and the people that might resonate with this part of your story, and how important it is to tell it, and knowing that who I am today is who I am and nothing is going to take that away. And so after that conversation, it really did help me to, get back writing. And then I was able to write that in, a few more pages in one sitting, after that conversation. So a long answer to say that sometimes talking to someone about what it is that is blocking the writing may help. And it may be a lot of authors I know experience a lot of growth during the process of writing. They say that it's a healing process, and I can attest to that as well. So, the piece of advice that I would give to those aspiring writers is be prepared to be stretched, be prepared to address things that you may have been avoiding, but also be prepared for the positive results of addressing those things and addressing them head on, and it will benefit your writing and your audience once they read what you have to say.
Now, Dr. Washington, I'm going to say this. Now that hindsight's 2020, I look back when you say you had a writing coach. Now,
Yeah.
I think now maybe if I'd had one of those, then maybe it would have been easy to get me through my writer's block. Because in that whole creative process, there's like so many things. And when you're coming up with this story has to be flowing, right?
Hmm.
And so, in just thinking about that process and where you're trying to go with that, that really gets to be pretty much a hard thing. So, so besides knowing that you had your writing coach, was there anything else, that helped to stimulate, your creative process when you got the block?
Yes. So, the other thing about it, so it's not just writing. I guess I should go back. So, part of the process is deciding whether or not you want to self publish or go with a publishing company. And so, if you decide to go with a publishing company, then they have staff available to you that will help you through the writing process and editing and feedback and those things. And so, that could be an option as well. That tends to be expensive. And so a lot of people like myself decide to self publish. And so, in going in that route, that means that we have to find people to help us and find the resources. And so Another resource would be to find an editor. And so if you do know of authors, you could ask them like what editors they use and what their experience was with the editors. A lot of authors will tell you that they have built a great relationship with their editor. This becomes a special relationship because you're sharing your most intimate thoughts on paper with this person and they're giving you feedback. And so it becomes a friendship or a special bond with this person. And so having an editor helps as well. And then just getting feedback from family and friends. Like maybe you want to share an excerpt by email or reading an excerpt to some people and just kind of getting their feedback. People that you know that will support you and they that you know will read the book when it comes out or are the target audience that you have in mind. Just sharing excerpts and getting their feedback along with an editor would help you with writing blocks as well.
Mm. So, can we discuss any upcoming projects you're currently working on in relation to your writing career?
Yes. So I'm working on a project right now. We have a young man by the name of Garrett Robinson who is also ready to tell his story and share it with the world. And so we're in the process of coming up with a manuscript for that. I'm also a part of the board for the Robert Chelsea Foundation. And so, Robert Chelsea, he is the first African American to have successful face transplant, full face transplant. And so he has been sharing his story for years through interviews, articles, news outlets, and now he's ready to tell his story in book form. And so we have that project coming up as well. And so I'm really excited about them. And we also have a young man who has a manuscript and he has it's a self help book for men of faith.
Hmm.
He believes that this is an underserved population. And so, um, self motivation, positive thinking, affirmations, all the things that we hear about are not always necessarily geared toward men and especially men of faith. And so we are working together on his manuscript as well. So those are the things that I'm a part of right now, and I'm really excited about all of the projects.
Wow, look, you have those guys know that when they are ready, we're ready to have them here at America in Black and White because
Okay.
all of those are three different categories that's definitely something that to help to serve and to create for the underserved and marginalized communities to get some inspiration,
Yeah.
to get to that point. Because, in writing, especially a tell a self a book about yourself, a biography,
Hmm.
it gets to be, you got to have some courage to actually do that.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
In what ways do storytelling and literature serve as tools for social change?
So, especially in the area of encouraging people to register as organ, eye, and tissue donors, this is a subject that many people don't even want to talk about because it's related to end of life conversations that people don't really want to talk about. But it's an important conversation. And so, in addition to reading articles and doing research and seeing the question when you're registering or renewing your license at the DMV. Storytelling and reading stories like mine are just an impactful way to address such an important issue as this. And so, going to tablings, being out in the community, having resources and information around this topic, but also sharing my story with folks really do help to change their minds about how they were thinking about this. and it really helps them to consider more deeply whether or not they would like to register. And so, putting a face to the cause and sharing a real story about someone who is going through the whatever the issue is, it really does make a huge impact versus just hearing about it or reading about it.
Well, let's make a transition over to your entrepreneur journey.
Okay.
And can you tell us what led you to transition from being an author into entrepreneurship, and what was the inspiration behind starting your own business?
Well, the transition really happened from traditional career into entrepreneurship and now author. And so, being a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, I'm a part of a large family of all ages. And I'm formally trained in the area of technology. And the thing that I love to do the most is teach others how to use the latest technologies. And so that was part of my service in Delta in the local chapter that I was a part of. I would be the chair of the technology committee. And so, with that exposure, a lot of the older sorority sisters would come to me and ask me, "Can you come to my house to set up my printer? My daughter bought me this iPhone. I don't know how to use it. My grandson wants to FaceTime. I don't know how to do that." And so, because they knew me, I was their resource for technology education. And so, I would go to their homes and I would help them with their technology. I would help them learn what it is that they needed to learn about it. And they will always say, "You should start a business. You should start a business." And so for years, I was hearing that. And it wasn't until COVID that I actually took the time to do the paperwork to become an official business. But I have been doing the work for many years. And so that is my niche market. Those of a more mature age who are trying to figure out the latest technologies, those are the people that I gravitate towards because we give them the technology, but we don't always have the time or the patience to teach them how to use it. And so, um, adult children are usually the ones that hire me for their parents to teach them how to do the things and use the devices that they have purchased for them. And I've also found that people of this age group are retirees who are also interested in becoming business owners. And so they really do need to learn technology related to how to run the back end of their business, whether it be having a social media presence or having a website or having a software to run the back end of their business. And so those are the things that I help with.
Cool. So, what challenges have you faced when launching a business while also maintaining a career in writing?
Time. I'm not having enough of it. So I have a full time job on a university campus where I'm a software analyst. And so in my spare time, I'm seeing clients and going to their homes and teaching them technology. And in my spare time, I'm writing and producing a book and now promoting the book. And so that means coming on podcasts, that means going to holiday markets, that means having book club appearances and just all the things. So I love all of it. And so it's a really good practice of time management in order to do all of this while also continuing to listen to my body and make sure I'm taking care of myself in a way that will allow me to stay healthy to be able to do all the things that I'm enjoying right now.
Yes, ma'am. That is so correct. Because before you know it, look, you'll be doing some of that craziness that I used to do. Now that I've got a wrap on it, I would be up sometimes to 3, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yes, yes.
And when you're really engulfed in that writing, believe me, you're gone and you don't even think about the time.
Yes. And so because I have this precious gift, which is my new kidney, and I would not want to do anything to put it in jeopardy. I really do have to put everything in perspective, remember what the priorities are, and even when I want to work and miss meals and all the things, I have to really remind myself of what would happen if I did that long term. And so sometimes I would want to work right longer, but I would have to put a pause on it so that I can make myself something to eat and get some sleep and all those things. And so it's a balance, but I'm enjoying the process of, trying to figure it out. Some days I do really good at it, some days I do horrible, but such is life.
It's always a work in progress.
Yes, yes.
How does creativity play a role in both these fields for you, writing and entrepreneurship?
So for entrepreneurship, it's always about how to deliver the best educational experience for each client. Because as you know, everyone is different and everyone has different learning styles. And so, really observing the person and listening and understanding what it is that they're asking for, and also observing like what is the best way that they learn, and being creative to deliver the information in a way that benefits them the most, and also how to keep it fun.
Mhm.
And so in writing, uh because it's my story, there wasn't a whole lot of creativity that I had to garner, but we did have to keep in mind that although it's a story that's being told, what is the best way to tell it so that it is engaging and fun and people can relate to it. And so, again, it was just bouncing ideas off of my book coach, and just those brainstorming strategy meetings, and what about this, what about that, yes, no, all the things. And so I don't know. I don't know. Like, this is like nonfiction, right? So if it would be a completely different conversation if we're talking about fiction writing. And so I have not delved into that yet. So I really don't have any advice in that area. But yeah.
Wow. Can you share some lessons learned from entrepreneurial ventures that might applicable that might come across various industries?
Lessons learned.
Hmm.
Well, for one thing, education never stops. So whatever industry you're in, whatever product or service you're offering, there's always an opportunity to learn more about the industry and learn what the next innovations are that may impact your business or may provide an opportunity to expand your business. So always being open to learning your industry and learning more about your industry. Lessons learned include how important networking is. And especially for those out there who are introverts, it's not something that you can really get around in order to expand your business. I'm an extrovert, but even as an extrovert, at times you just want to stay at home and cozy up on the couch. But really, just finding, that energy to be out there and put yourself out there and go to the networking events and repeat what it is that your business does and how it impacts others, and even doing that in a way that's fun for you as well as impactful for the people that you're meeting, and just being excited about getting to know new people and how you can work together to benefit your business. Being open to grant opportunities and learning about what that is so that you can have funding coming in that you don't have to pay back. And I could go on and on, but basically just to remain open to learning new things that can benefit you in expanding your business and expanding your reach.
Oh wow. So, what strategies have proven effective for marketing yourself, both as an author and an entrepreneur?
Well, I must say, um, the first and foremost is the support of your inner circle. Like, to me, that has been the launch pad to the success of the book. We had a book release event on the same day that the book was released on Amazon, and we had it at Pataqua Cafe here in Lakewood, California. And it's a black owned and woman owned business. So I was very intentional about where I wanted to have the event, and the outpouring of support there was amazing. And so these were just family, friends, coworkers, people that wanted to support me because they had not even read the book yet. It was just the first day that it was launched. And so I was so appreciative of the support that really motivated me to go out there and continue to promote the book. And so, promotion for me has been social media activity, being engaged on various platforms, listening to people as they are engaging with the book, and people are already asking for book club appearances, and I'm already slated for a keynote speaking as a result of the book. And I've done holiday markets over the past couple of weekends and just really getting the story out there, and letting people know that it exists and explaining to them what it is about. I really do look forward to some sort of partnership with DaVita Dialysis Centers, because that's where I was treated, and they did such a phenomenal job in treating me during dialysis that I would love to get this book in the hands of their patients. So I'm looking for partnerships in those kind of ways. And so, and partnering with the other authors that I know and possibly doing an event with them. There are just so many possibilities, and just managing the time to, like I'm saying, research how do you do this, or how do you get into a bookstore, how do you get into the library, and really exploring all of the options and just have as much of a reach as possible.
Oh, so I don't know what it's like in California, but I will tell you here in Georgia, for the library that's right here in my county.
Mm-hmm.
What I was told is that I just had to go to the library, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I fill out this form, to request, but also I give them a copy of the book.
Yes.
So they go through it, and and if it's approved, then what do you know? We're on the shelf.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I would love that. Yeah, so that's part of the plan that I have for the new year, is to research all of those things, and so that those who may not have the funding to purchase the book, they can check it out at their local library and still get the information. And so I am excited about all of the possibilities to get this all over the world, and so we will see how far we can go with it in the new year.
So, in building successful partnerships, what qualities do you look for within collaborators?
Well, I would look for an organization that is passionate about helping others, that may have a focus on people who are living with chronic illness. And so they already have the heart for the cause. And and they would see this as an added resource to their population of people that they serve. And so those are the people that I'm looking to partner with, because I believe that they will have the same passion that I have to get this information out and to champion the cause, to support people who are living with chronic illnesses of all sorts. And so, as you look at me, you can't tell that I've had a kidney transplant. You can't tell that I've been on dialysis. And there is a myriad of chronic illnesses that people live with every day, but they don't look like it. And so there are people who are in pain every day. but they dress up and they put on their best face to go out to meet the world in whatever capacity that they do that. And so I want this to be a resource that represents all of those types of situations to bring awareness to the causes that are important to them.
How important is community involvement within entrepreneurship in terms of sustainability and growth?
Well, the essence of a small business is that you are part of the community, that you're servicing a community, and that you're offering a bit of product or a service that benefits those who live in your community. So I don't know that there is a way to be separate, to be a business owner and not be part of your community. I also think that service in that community is also important, just in general, as a human person. But also, if you have a business, you also sometimes take off your business owner hat just to give back to the community. So, whatever your community is and what their needs are, that you would tap in as an individual or as a company to support that. And so, for example, as being a part of Delta, we did a service project just this past Sunday where we were at the Long Beach community table. We were making grocery bags and preparing the food to be delivered to the local community. And so, being a part of organizations that do service, finding where the service is needed in your area, I think that it's just the right thing to do, but it also brings exposure to you and your business. And so, all of it goes hand in hand.
Were there any mentors who guided or encouraged you during this dual path journey?
Well, especially for the service piece, I have a heart for community service, and I would say in that regard, my parents were the first mentors because they demonstrated how to do community service, and they brought me along when they were doing service when I was a kid. And so I remember growing up in Miami, Florida, and I would go with my dad and his work. We would go under the bridge of Liberty City and sit up and make sandwiches and hand them out to the homeless. I remember going to sickle cell walkathons with my father and his work every year, and so I have a heart for those who are living with sickle cell anemia. And so those were the first mentors. And then, of course, my sorority sisters and all of the service that we do across the world. There's just so many initiatives, so we're always tapped in. Um, and outside of that, my church, a member of Antioch Church of Long Beach, and their service that happens there as well. So like you were saying earlier, being a part of your community and being a part of organizations of that community and seeing what service projects they have going on is an easy way to get started or to stay tapped in with community service.
And just speaking of that, let's transition to your community engagement.
Okay.
How has being a part of a community informed your work, both personally and professionally?
So the word community, it just has so many different meanings, right? And so on the campus of Cal State Long Beach. There's a community there. So although it is a predominantly white institution and it's a Hispanic serving institution, we have a very small population of Black students and a very small population of Black staff and faculty. We still find community within ourselves. So we call ourselves Black Beach and Black Faculty and Staff Association. And so we do service to make sure that the Black students on our campus have the resources that they need and that they're not being overlooked or, um, that they get access to the same resources as everyone else on campus. So there's community there and there's service to be done there. Um, and then community at church, community with the sorority. So there's a lot of different communities, and then there's friends, and then family. So community looks a lot of different ways, and however you engage with each of your communities really do help to just make life more full. And in those times where you're feeling a certain way about how your life is going, or how things are going at work, or how things are going in your social life, being engaged in community activities and giving back to others with your time and your resources help to take your mind off of what is going on in your own life, and it also helps you to remain grateful for the things that you have in your life.
So a follow up to that,
Hmm.
when you mentioned the work that not just what you do with the different groups of people or organizations that you do that with, can you tell us what has been the most impactful part about you and your sorority when you guys go out and you do community work? What are some of those things, and how has it been impact? What's the impact of that?
Well, a lot of people know who we are before we get there. And so, for a lot of the service projects that we do, people are excited to see us in our red and just being unified and coming to serve them. And so, one of the things that we have done in the past few months is that we've gone to a domestic violence recovery center for women and children, and we served them dinner. And so we pulled out the stops, like all the decorations, we gave gifts, and we served them, you know, the same way you would have done at a five-star restaurant. And they loved that. And they also especially loved that we were serving them. We have gone to elder living facilities to help them learn technology, usually their smartphone or their laptops. And there's just so much that we do, and people who know the organization are just happy to see us in our red coming to serve them. And so they enjoy seeing us living out the service that we always talk about that we do to serve them. And so I think that that has been awesome, that we are collectively able to serve so many in our community, and we are evidence of the service that we say that we provide to the community.
Oh wow. That is so beautiful. It really is, because there are lots of organizations that everybody do what they can and how
Mhm.
they do it, but when you're just known to be in the community, that speaks volumes.
Yeah,
Because what that means is anytime the community is in need, there's always going to be that time that you guys are going to be there, or you will be there,
yeah,
and that makes a whole big difference. A whole big difference.
yes, yes, absolutely.
Can you discuss specific initiatives, projects you focused on improving literacy rates, community development you're spearheading?
Well, I don't know that I have started any of that work just yet, as the book has only been out for a little under a month, but it's definitely something on my radar. And so I'm looking forward to doing some readings in schools and universities. And like I said, I'm interested in getting the books in libraries and doing some readings there. And so, any way that I can support literacy awareness and improving literacy, I would love to be a part of that. And so, that's something I'm looking forward to researching and getting more involved in the new year.
Oh wow. In what ways can literature serve as a bridge building tool between diverse groups within communities?
Well, one of the things that I talk about as part of the book is the research that I've done around the apprehensions that Black Americans have regarding registering as organ, eye, and tissue donors. I've expanded that research for the book to include other, like people of color, and other people in different situations and their apprehensions as well. And so, living with chronic illness is something that happens and affects people of all walks of life. And how to address that is something that can be unifying. And so, I think so again, just sharing my story and encouraging others to share their story also helps to remind people that chronic illness and specific illnesses affect people of all ages and walks of life. And so telling your story and being vulnerable in that way helps to further that point, because all of us are going through something, that we can share to help others.
I have a follow up to that.
Yes.
Can you tell us, like, what do you believe or what have you learned in your research as to why is it that certain people are just apprehended when it
Mhm.
comes to organ donating?
Well, if we're talking about the community of Black Americans, there are some specific things around the apprehensions, including lack of education. A lot of us are just not aware of the issue and what it even means to be a registered donor, what the process is, why it's important. The other thing is that we have a very real history with the medical industry, to the point that Black Americans are not as trusting of them. And so, unfortunately, this area is also impacted by that. And so, um, just really understanding that even though we have the history that we have with the medical industry, we also, what's also true is that a lot of people, Black people, are on the waiting list. And so, really digging deep and really reconciling what our history has been and coming to a point of peace with it, so that we could be open to helping someone who is currently in need of our help. And so, how, whatever that looks like, whatever conversations need to happen around that, to not affect what our history has been with the medical industry, prevent us from being open to helping people who are currently in need. And so, and I always say, if people felt that way, if everyone felt that way, then I wouldn't be here today talking to you about it, because I would not have gotten my second chance at life.
Mhm. So, what role does mentorship play in helping underrepresented voices find their footing, particularly women and minorities in publishing realms?
Hmm. And so, similar to my situation, I was unsure if I would have what it takes to become an author. I've always wanted to become an author because I love reading books, and of course, I would want to write one, but I wasn't sure that I had what it takes. Like, I'm not formally trained in any sort of writing or journalism. And so I thought that was a requirement. And so I wasn't sure. But because I had people around me who were authors and who they didn't know it, but I did look to them for inspiration, just because it's like, oh, there's someone that I know that is an author. There are people that I know who are authors, so if they can do it, I think that I can at least try. And I also think that they would help me if I need help. And so that's why I say, for those of you who are thinking about writing, I say go for it, because not only is your story going to be impactful, but the fact that you then are an author, that someone is looking at you without you knowing, and you are then becoming an inspiration to them, that said, oh, if he did it or if she did it, then maybe I can try it as well.
Are there certain are there certain demographics whose stories are often overlooked but need more visibility through representation today?
Yes, I really do think people of color in general. all colors, black, brown, yellow, are underrepresented in many ways, and also in this way as well. And I think it was a lot to do with, the traditional process of needing to go through a publishing company, and going through that process. I think that now that there are so many options to be able to self publish and really mitigate a lot of the expenses that prevented people from getting published, is really helping those who couldn't afford the traditional process get their voices out there. And so I really do, and this is a good positive way that technology is impacting our world, is that it's opening doors and allowing people who may not have been able to afford the process to get their story out and get their voices heard in this way.
Wow. Because now let me tell you this. Because let me just ask you this. I'm sorry.
Hmm.
With you, self-publishing.
Hmm.
Are you actually producing your book yourself, where you're actually publishing it yourself, or are you actually going through an independent publishing company that you paying to have your book published?
So I am published through Amazon. So they have their um, direct publishing process, and
Mhm.
so all that is uploading your manuscript, uploading your cover design, or creating one within their process, deciding what market you want to sell to, agree to the cost of printing, and then once you get approved, once they've approved your manuscript, it's available online, and you're able to purchase authors copies at a discounted rate so that you can make a profit on selling your book. And so and so that's what I did. My book is currently on Amazon, and then I can purchase copies as well. People can purchase online. And so I purchased copies through Amazon to have physical copies available when I'm at like holiday markets and, different events where copies are important to have on hand.
Okay. Have collaborations with fellow authors, business owners positively impacted local outreach efforts centered around education and literacy?
Well, I'm really looking forward to partnering with the organization that I'm an ambassador for, One Legacy. They're a
Mhm.
public education organization, um, having efforts around educating folks about what it means to be an organ donor and be a registered donor. And so I'm looking forward to having a partnership with them in a way that would incorporate my book as a resource for the efforts that they're making. And so they are really busy right now with putting on the production that is the Rose Parade that will be happening on the first of the year. And this past 2024, I was a rider on their Rose Parade float as a recipient of a kidney donation. And so um, this time of the year, they're really busy finalizing the design of the float and getting everything ready for everybody for January 1st. And so I look forward to having those conversations with them in the new year.
Oh wow. So that's a really good endorsement, especially if you're going to collaborate with them, because that's going to open up broad connections for you.
Yes, yes. So that's the goal. I'm just looking forward to getting the story out there. I'm really looking forward to getting this book in the hands of the donor families that they service,
Mhm.
and I think it will be a great partnership. So the book launched in late November, and that was just around the time that they were really in the thick of Rose Parade preparation. And so I'm really looking forward to the conversations and where that can go.
Oh wow. Well, congratulations and good luck to that in advance, because I'm sure that that's going to go a long ways.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
In promoting entrepreneurship amongst youth, Is there advice you would offer young visionaries seeking guidance along their journeys?
Yes. The first thing, my first bit of advice is to get started. If they are anything like me, I thought that I needed to finish college before starting my own business. But what we have learned in reading how businesses got started, like the Microsofts and the IBMs, a lot of these major corporations started in garages, and maybe the owners started in college but they didn't finish, or a lot of the entrepreneurs that we know, household names, never went to college. And so my first piece of advice is get started. If you have an idea and you have the support of your parents or someone around you that will help you with the process, I would say get started right away and get your feet wet and learn as much as you can about the industry that you're in. Find some mentors that are in the same industry as you are and learn as much as you can as you go.
Could you talk about examples where art, literature intersected with activism during events organized by yourself, community partners?
Art and literature. Well, I guess I would say the holiday markets have been where art and literature meet. There are artists there, there are creatives there are authors there, musicians, just everybody collectively in the same space. And so we have been able to get to know each other and learn more about what each business is and what it offers. And we also end up helping each other because we all offer something different. And so the artist in the room that I met, I can refer her to um, people who I know who are interested in writing books. And so maybe they need an illustrator. And so that was a great connection. And so the hat that I'm wearing today, I bought this from someone who was also at the holiday market, who is an accessories shop. And so that helps with, the image consulting that authors and other creatives might need or want. And so yes, there's lots of different ways. There's lots of different ways. I'm looking forward to the opportunities that will come up for the MLK Day of Service that's coming up in January, and Black History Month that is coming up in February, and then Women's History Month and all the things. And so I think there's plenty of opportunities for collaborations to do exactly what you're saying.
Well, I was going to tell you at the end, but I'll tell you now, I love that hat.
Oh, thank you. Yes,
Remind me so much of a hat that Prince would wear. And so,
yes, I love
and,
it.
and I love that hat.
Thank you. So I got this hat from Shop Love Charisma. She's on Instagram and all the social medias. And yes, I love this hat too. Like I wanted to wear the hat, so I was like, what can I wear to match the hat for Charles' show today? Yes. So thank you so much.
Yes. Can we explore barriers that exist preventing individuals from pursuing similar pathways like yours, and how best can that be addressed collectively?
Hmm. Barriers. Well, I'm trying to think outside of myself because I was just actively trying to remove whatever mental barriers that I created because there weren't a lot of actual barriers
Mhm.
outside of the learning curve and just not knowing what the process is. But as I say, just finding people who have done it already and picking their brains and asking for advice from them. But barriers for and again, I'm just saying that the technology that's out here now has really removed a lot of the barriers that once were regarding writing and publishing. So we have the technology of Meetup, so that you have community in writing. So if you're not good at managing your time, you can sit there and be online with people, other people who are writing. We have coffee shops with Wi-Fi now, so you can, if you don't have internet at your home, you can go to a coffee shop and right there. Um, we have so many more authors, and so there's a greater chance that you know an author that you can, rely on as a mentor or giving advice. And so, I mean, money is always a thing, it's like whether you have it or not, and then how that impacts your process in writing. But there are ways around it. I didn't necessarily have a whole lot of money to put into this project, but you know, that's where you get creative. And it's like, okay, well, that's how much that costs, but how can I negotiate the price to be lower? Or who do I know that also does this thing that I can get a better price? Or can I learn a skill to do it myself? So, for example, you could hire someone to create your book cover design, but I designed this book cover in Canva. And
Mm.
so, maybe it takes you to learn a new software to save yourself some money in designing a thing. Who knows? So I think we're just in a very good time in time right now that we have technology that can help us mitigate some costs. Because money's always a thing, so just have to be creative to get around it.
Mm. I like that. As someone actively engaged at intersections between arts, culture, community wellness, what long-term impacts which create through endeavors going forward? What long-term impacts uh, are you going to create through endeavors going forward?
Yes. My biggest goal is just to have this book in the hands of every person who is on dialysis, every donor family, bookshelves all over the country, all over the world, libraries. I would love for this to be topics of discussion for book clubs, for university courses, um, maybe even a storyline for a movie. The possibilities are endless. And so I just speak all of it into existence, and we'll see how far it can go. So, the interesting thing I'll share with you is that I went to elementary school with a prominent filmmaker in our lives today. So, his name is Barry Jenkins, and you may know him from the movie Moonlight and Bill Street, and now Mufasa,
Mm.
the Lion King.
Yes.
Um, we were in school together from second to sixth grade. And so, Barry, if you're watching this, call me. And yeah, I have started to move in circles that are in the movie and entertainment industry. And so the possibilities are endless, and I am here for it all.
Mm. If there's one message you'd like to impact upon future generations interested in combining passion pursuits with philanthropy,
Mhm.
what would that be?
My advice is to go for it. My advice is to dig deep within to find out what it is that you are passionate about. What is it that you would do for free, that you just absolutely love to do, love to talk about, would talk about for hours, and make that your thing. you know Pray about it, hear from God about it. Just settle on what you know in your heart and your spirit is your passion and your purpose, and decide how you want to offer that to the world. So in my case, it was in the form of a book, but in other cases, it could be in different forms, just whatever feels good to you. And envision the type of impact that you want to have, and then begin to research and learn and ask questions of people to see how you can start on that journey and how you can get there.
Um, what what are your legacy hopes that you want to leave behind to not only through writing words, but also your entrepreneur initiatives geared towards uplifting others?
Yes. So my my work with One Legacy and bringing awareness to the importance of organ, eye, and tissue donation is really a conversation of what it means to leave a legacy. And so when we hear legacy, most people think of the things that they would like to leave for their children or the impact that they would like to make, financially in the lives of their loved ones once they're no longer here. But I am challenging folks to think of legacy in a different way. In addition to that, like how would you like to impact others' lives after you are no longer here? And so I'm really asking people to consider another way to think of legacy. And so when we talk about entrepreneurship and my business, the goal there is to improve the quality of life for others by just helping them learn about technology, because technology is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. It moves fast. It will not slow down. So either you find a way to learn about it or you get left behind. And so I am here to offer just the basic skills to get people just their toes dipped into the technology and help them to learn about it in a way that it doesn't feel as scary or it doesn't feel as overwhelming, and that they really feel that they can use it and incorporate it in part of their daily lives in a way that is helpful and not scary and not just doing damage. And so improving the lives of others by improving their technology skills and challenging thoughts around what it means to leave a legacy.
And in closing, Dr. Washington, what
Mhm.
is it that you'd like to leave with our audience, including ways of following you on social media, ways of contacting you, a website, any of those things? What do you like to leave with the audience here this evening?
Well, I would just like to say thank you for your time and listening today, and thank you for hearing what I have to say. Thank you, Charles, for having me today. And I'm available on all social media platforms at Simone Washington, and that's SOMONE. And I would love to for you to read my book. I would love to hear what you have to say about it. Please invite me to your book club. I would love to further the discussion. My whole point here is to start discussions around organ, eye, and tissue donation and the importance of making an impact in someone else's life. Because without that, I would not be here to talk to you today. And so I just really appreciate the time, and I appreciate being here with you, Charles. Thank you for inviting me back. I really appreciate it.
Well, there we have it. Dr. Simone Washington has given you all of the needs, all of the tools in order to not only build your life, but also from a philanthropic perspective as to work in the community and what it means to build community. Because if we don't do it together and if we don't do things to contribute, we never know what's lacking. Dr. Washington, I want to thank you for being here again. And once again, you've been an impact. And I definitely got to have you back again because, I think your journey is a very special one and it's one that's been impactful here on the show. Also, just telling you this before you leave is I also would love to make sure that at some point in time, we've got to do a collaboration because the creative process is real.
Yes, that
And
would be awesome.
I definitely hope that we could do that. And also, I need you to make sure that you get the information not only about the book, but what you would need, what I would need in order to do this blog post for you to draw more people to wherever you are and you want them to connect. Because I definitely can get that out for you. We'll do that. And just looking forward to getting that information. Make sure you include your socials on there as well.
Absolutely, you got it. That would be amazing. I would love to do a collaboration with you.
Yes, ma'am. And so, for all of you that have been watching tonight, thank you. Please join us again tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern time, same channel. And we will have another special guest for you tomorrow. Thank you again, Dr. Washington. You all have a great evening. And please, we will see you.